just getting everything here finished. We're trying to get it set up before we do anything. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, I think that's gonna be how. I think that's enough. Okay, so I'm gonna try something different since I'm trying to do better with my streams and things like that. So this is gonna be making a cartoon stream. So the rules in this one are gonna be a little different since I want to go for some engagement here with you guys and trying to be better. There we go. Oh, I thought I had everything down. I don't. I've got the wrong image resolution here. 1280, 720. Or was it 1080 by 720? Damn it. So how are people doing today? It's been a week over on my end. So good news is my father is probably going to be out of the hospital on Monday. I don't know for sure yet, and that's the good news, because getting him home is the first step. The next step is the hard part. So the next step is getting him built back up some. And there are some complications with that right now. Double check my screen resolution. 1280. Okay, yeah. Good. So his marrow in his body was mostly destroyed by cancer. And that means his body's not going to be producing enough red blood cells. His immune system is going to be minimal. So he's going to have to be a homebody for a while, which makes sense. So that's going to be where I'm going to be his caretaker and help build him back up some. And so that is about where we're at right now. He's just finishing up his first week of chemo. So that's the good news. He's handling it pretty well. So in regards of what this stream is going to be, outside of me getting into more of the stuff going on here in my life, this is going to be a let's make a cartoon stream. So what I'm going to do is, over the course of a few streams, myself the animator and you guys the audience are going to make a cartoon. We're going to make a short. I guess we'll try for a 15-second or so short. And so the way to do this is pretty simple. I put out I choose the character that we're going to use, and I put out the basic crude story idea, and you guys get to choose what happens. Either if there's only one person in the chat, then that one person in the chat gets to be the writer. And you get to come up with stuff to have happen to whatever protagonist we got. So since I'm still recovering from the crazy ass drive I had, because driving 6 hours with no AC on a hot day, even with open windows, will take it out of even people who don't have heat issues. So first thing I'm going to do to get things started is the character is going to be Red. So we'll do Red from Dungeons in Debt. I'm going to redesign her slightly and simplify things just a little bit in terms of her design. She's going to be using Design 2 because she no longer has the nice suit of armor or sword and shield she had in the little pilot episode short I made. And so what we're going to do is make a little story with red over the course of 15 seconds short or so. So how things happen with this is simple. You take a character, and then you give the character a problem. And the way to give a character a problem is to give them something that they want at the start, and then keep them from getting it. So it's going to be pretty simple. So I will choose the very basic of basic stories here for red. So whoever's in the audience, you get to make the call what happens next. So the crude story for this one is going to be red is in a dungeon. Red sees a treasure chest. Now something has to happen there. What's going to keep her from getting the treasure chest? Or does she even get the treasure chest and find out it's empty? So that's where whoever's watching me gets to come in and make the call. So I will get started on doing Red's crude new character design, and you get to make the call. So what happens after she sees the treasure chest inside a dungeon room? So I'll give whoever's there a few moments to come up with something. It's got to be something simple for right now. So I mean, while I am trying to do more D&D style monsters, what happens when she goes to open up the chest? Is there a trap? Is the chest a mimic and does it eat her? Or when she goes to the chest, does the floor give out beneath her and there's a spike trap, or excuse me, a spike pit that she falls into? Or even does she get disrupted by another treasure hunter? I do have a second character for this. I don't have her design quite finished yet, but I can do a simple enough one. So if you can come up with an idea, just type it in the chat, and I'll go over it with you. And if there's anybody else who wants to make a call on what happens, we can do that. We can do that too. Essentially, we're just going to be doing this by vote if there's more than one person right now. So, I'll give you just a moment. I need to double check one thing because I heard some commotion outside of my room. I'm just going to make sure my mom is doing okay. So, I will be back in just a moment. If you have an idea of what you want to see happen or whatnot, just type it in the chat, and I will be back in just a few seconds. Okay. Got a sick cat here at home also, which doesn't make life any easier. Jeez, if it's not one thing, it's another. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting a little tired of animals and family members getting sick. So, hoping the cat's okay. So I'm going to pull out my alternate design for red, and then I will give it a quick update. Because that's the name of the game. Let's see, where did I put that? Maybe is it this one, or did I just open this one up? There it is. So this is her alternate design. I'm going to have to, because of how everything in my life is changing right now, everything has to get simplified. So I've got this nice bit of artwork right here. Man, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to continue on into this tune the way it's in right now. Let's see, that's her shield. So I'm just taking a break from some other projects to work on this, just because I need to have a stream up. It helps me feel a little normal, even though everything in my life right now is pretty far from normal at the moment. It's very stressful over here right now because I'm outside of doing my usual stuff. Are you seriously going to do that? My goodness, it pasted the wrong thing. Outside of doing my usual stuff, I'm trying to take care of my mom and get things ready back for my father. My energy to create has really been taking a hit. And I've always been able to create. And I don't like not being able to create. It feels... It just feels wrong. So... either way, I guess now we got a sick cat I've got to keep an eye on and make sure she drinks her water and eats some more food. Yeah, she's a rescue cat, so I don't know what's going on with her, if it's anxiety or whatnot, because she was abandoned. So that does not make life easier for any of us, because she's a very needy little cat, but I'm doing my best. I'll set aside some more time to keep an eye on her, because she's doing the sick cat thing where they hide, but they still keep an eye out. So I'll try and keep an eye on her. But so part of what I'm doing in this stream is it's going to be a very simple redesign of red. I'm going to just simplify some of the details around her and make it a little bit more cartoony, even though I like her design as is and I can keep up with that normally. But things aren't normal right now in my life. And it's going to be a while before things get normal. So let me also need to update. I forgot to put in the chat. Let's see, I animate. And just come up with story. Would you say nothing too action packed? Okay, so the story is Red enters a dungeon room sees a treasure chest. And what happens next? Pin that message. So, yeah, I should have had some of this done a little sooner, but there. Okay, so the key idea for simplicity here is to make everything a little bit more toony, even though I don't quite want to make everything too cartoony, because I have a nice little style here, but I'm gonna have to simplify things a little further. So if I sound like I've got less energy today, it's because I do. It's hot here. And we're still in the middle of trying to get my father back home, and then there's trying to find out how to handle things next, because he's finishing up his first treatment of chemo, and that's really good. He's handling it well. But the way things are going to be for a while, until they kill off all the cancer cells in his system, is he goes 1 week with, 3 weeks without chemo. So that's once a month he has to get chemo, and then there's outpatient stuff that's going to be coming up around the corner. I ain't sure what's going to happen next. I just know that I got to get my AC fixed in my minivan. And I thought it was because I was out of Freon, and after adding Freon, that didn't do anything, so that means it's something else. And all the shops are closed where I live until Monday, and Monday is when he is tentatively going to be leaving. So that's the next thing on the agenda. Taking care of a sick pet is going to make things a little bit more stressful around here also. Because believe it or not, when you get caught in a situation like this, having the pets around makes everything a little easier, even if one is senile, pesky, and keeps trying to trip you. It's nice to not have to be alone. And unfortunately, I'm more of a cat person than a dog person, so my mom can have the dogs. But everything is generally a little bit easier when it's not so hot. So this design is roughly the same. It's more simplistic, sure, but oops. But I will make it work. So yeah, I had to miss last month's Joy comic because of everything going on with my father, and I got a little bit of that started finally today, now that things have mellowed out with him some. But even so, I'm not feeling it. And I'm just kind of panicking more about time right now, since the last few weeks, anytime I've tried to do something, I always get halfway there and something stops me, and in most cases it has been dealing with the state government saying you can't renew your license because you don't have this piece of paper. And then when I go to get that piece of paper, I wait a week, don't get it, and instead get an excuse from California saying, oh, you sent it to the wrong county, sorry, it took us 9 days to get back to you with an email. Yeah. Unfortunately, from what I've been reading about people who get caught in the situation that I'm in, where you're going to be taking care of a family member who isn't expected to live for too long, depending on, you got to keep your spirits up, you got to look on everything, be as positive as possible. You got to do the same for them, and sometimes that gets to be an awful lot to handle on its own, and it shouldn't be. So part of the reason I'm doing this let's make a cartoon project here with you guys is I need to start getting stuff done faster, and I can't nitpick as much as I used to. Even though nitpicking isn't a bad thing. You get to put out your art, and the quality of it stands out just a little bit better. But I nitpick too much. So part of the plan here is to simplify Red's design just a little bit. So I've got a character who still stands out some visually, but has some of her own charm. And so simplicity is something I'm trying to look at more as an artist, which maybe it's a good thing I'm doing this now, because even though the stuff I put out isn't incredibly detailed, having things be just a little more simplified does the job. Oh, there's the kitty. I hope she's doing okay. Oops. Oh, Flash, don't do this to me now. So the idea with this series of tunes is I put out the crude part of the story, the setting, and then you guys get to put out what problem she has. Oh. Just making sure the cat's okay and not throwing up, because she's got to keep some liquid down. Yeah, she's a neurotic cat, unfortunately. She was abandoned God knows how many years ago, and when my sister and brother-in-law moved into a place in Oregon, she was still living underneath the house, and so when we moved, we took her with us. And she's a nice kitty, even though she's very needy and kind of persnickety. That is kind of how cats are. But yeah, I want to make sure that she's okay, because taking care of a sick pet and a sick father is a little bit too much for me, considering the fact that I am also having to take care of my mother. I'm just everybody's caretaker right now. So yeah. Okay, that's enough. If I keep nitpicking on this any further, I'm gonna use up too much time. So yeah, for simplicity, I would just give Red sandals like Joy does. I mean, like Joy has. Part of the reason I do that is so I also don't forget how to draw this stuff, because if you stop drawing this stuff, you gotta relearn how to do it. And I was trying to redraw something I used to draw years ago, and I'm not having much luck remembering it. So the idea right now is simplicity. So I've been kind of going through how to do stuff in my head, just to speed up the process a little bit more without sacrificing too much quality. One of the things I'm a little sad about is I was thinking about this last night, how I did the backgrounds in that first episode of Dungeons and Debt, and as much as I liked how I did that, I don't think I can repeat that the same way, because I have to simplify. No, I don't want to simplify. I've got to simplify just a little bit more. So I'm thinking I might have an answer for that, but we'll see how things go. So right now, we'll just do this for Red's hands. And as you can see, her legs are just a little too long here. So to compensate for that, we just do this. Now everything balances itself out. And so one of the things I'm going to try and do with these little short tunes is something I never take into consideration. And that is, I never really look at relatability in my tunes. I just do it. So one thing I have to do is I have to come up with a slightly more clever title, and other things I have to do. Let's try and, I guess, come up with some more relatable scenarios, because a big part of Dungeons in Debt is primarily Red having bad luck. And there's a cruel irony right now, because that's actually something I've got. It's something my family has always had. If we didn't have bad luck, we wouldn't have luck at all. We succeed on small things, which is nice, but sometimes you really want it. You really want more. So, yeah, that's about most of her new design. So even though I previously gave her 2 separate types of gloves, just to give her something a little bit more visually standoutish, I'm gonna have to, save time. So to save time, that means I draw one type of glove for both hands. So the exciting thing about simplification is sometimes you find out you don't need all the fancy details that you put in, even if they are nice. So, but other than that, need to correct this hand. But other than that, this is how things are going to go. So we have character A and character B. Character B's design I'm still adjusting slightly. It's she's a fencer, and character B is Red's antagonist. Since I mentioned I was going to look at things being a little bit more spy versus spy, or get that Tom and Jerry tone, just because I need something fun and something to laugh at on my own outside of watching other people's silly YouTube videos. So that's where black comes in. And so red is down on her luck, and black is a thief. And so I forget the D&D term for what class black would essentially be. I guess black would probably be a rogue, but I'm trying to come up with bits and pieces of personalities for these characters, where one character has bad luck and is a little clumsy, and the other character has more luck and is a thief, and causes more, is the more successful of the two, and causes most of the problems for both. So I'm trying to sort that out, but I feel kind of bad about having to trim the collector character for right now. Let's see, because he's meant to be order in this little world, and I'm gonna have to push order aside for just a little while. And to increase the tuniness of this just a hair more, I'm going to go for the triangle shape here for Red's body type. Wish I was a little bit better at drawing breasts, but yeah, so I'm giving her, for simplicity, she's getting more of the triangular shape. But I can clean it. I can make adjustments to this later. So for this toon, pick something that whoever's watching, go ahead and pick something to have happen. It can't be a huge fight scene because this is going to be a short toon. But it can still be a fight scene. It all depends on what you want. I just listed a few options in the chat for ideas. Those ideas aren't the only options. If you can come up with something funny on your own, and I like it, we'll go with it. If I don't like it, I might meet you halfway on it. And because Red is the warrior class, I want to make sure to keep a little bit of mass in her arms. And one last thing here, then I think I'm done with her body type. So the general idea here for simplicity is mostly for me to increase my output just a little bit more, because I want to get that, I need that YouTube watch time. That's the one thing holding me back from getting a partnership outside of me holding me back. I can work on me, but my watch time isn't something I have as much control over, because even with all the research on YouTube that I've done, I still have no clue what makes a really good video. I just do my own thing. I've tried watching what other people do, and I don't quite want to imitate what they do, if I can help it. But I also don't want to sacrifice who I am. Because I want to have, I'm still trying to develop more of my own voice. And her legs are just a little too long. But we can get around that. First things first, I'm just going to put a blank color scheme for right now. Just, oh, wrong skin tone. Just to create a little bit of life. As I say when I animate, I'm constantly trying to create some life in my projects. There we are. So the dress is a little short and makes her legs look a little longer. So the way to get around that is I can either extend it down here, or I could just pull her ankles up a little bit. So the idea is between the characters, I would say I haven't figured out who's going to be Tom and who's going to be Jerry when the two have their moments with each other. Just because there's a bigger world out there that I'm trying to piece together for these characters to play in, so they can't always. I can't always have a Tom and Jerry episode with them, but when I do those episodes, so far I'm leaning a little bit more towards Red being Jerry and Black being Tom, because I've got my first episode with Black written in the back of my head. But the problem is, I've got a sword fight between the two, and so I did that little 10-second sword fight between Red and the skeleton in the last episode, and that came out pretty good, even though it was too short. I would need to have another sword fight that's about twice as long, and a sword fight like that would be, assuming I get every shot done in a week, 3 weeks. And even if I simplify stuff, I've got to be careful how I handle it. So I will try and find that middle ground that we animators always kind of try to avoid, but it really helps everything out. Okay. I'll just take the darker red there, and that'll be the color for her sandals, and boom. So nobody has typed any story ideas in the chat for what you want to have happen just yet. I'm going to carry this color over here just because the character's red, and I'm trying to keep the red color scheme on her just a little bit, as well as keeping a little bit of the original design there. So like the arm brace here, just to help differentiate the colors, the details, and what she looks like and things like that. So here we go. So weapon wise, because Red is now broke, she no longer has her the short sword she did in the last episode. She doesn't have the nice shield she had anymore. Oh, there we go. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So she's down to a short sword, a little dinky short sword, and a crummy little shield. So, but there's her body. You can see very little has been sacrificed in terms of detail. The next thing to do is to, as outside of, I've got one last thing here. I'm going to take this little lighter air border color here because this is supposed to be leather armor that the character has. If we do this, it just creates a little extra detail. I'm going to do the same for here, just because, wow, that doesn't look very good, does it? I guess I'm just going to have to stick to the brown. There is a certain amount of synchronicity in your character design's color schemes that you really want to try and stick with. So what I'm also going to do is, since I'm going to have to ease up on the body shading, even though I really liked how that came out, there's a compromise where you can make the character still look like they have a bit of shading. That's to add a scar here and there. So she's got a scar on the cheek, she's got a scar on the arm. I might as well just, no, that's enough scars for right now. I'm thinking what's going to happen when I have to start doing some more intense animation. But so here is her face. In order to simplify this just a little bit more, we're going to change the shape from that to this. So I'm doing my thing where I can only draw it correct one side. which is okay because when you're an animator, you got to look for shortcuts. So this is the character. She's not my best protagonist that I've come up with, but she's not a bad one. No, I've drawn her for all of one episode. So the idea is to let the stylization of the character come out just a little bit more. So I just put her ears over here at an angle to match everything else. There's her headband, and here is it wrapped around her hair. Smooth everything out just a little bit. And then, last but not least, the hair. So I normally would have 3 of these hair spikes out there. I'm only doing the 1. I mean, the 1. I'm doing the 2. It gets the job done, even though it's only slightly less detail. I'm also not giving her the rounded cheeks right now. I'm gonna have to go for sharper. So, and then for her jaw, there's that. And so, sadly, even though I really liked it, I'm gonna have to simplify her eyes, because the way I had them previously, you can see the shape I've got there. I like that shape a lot. I really do. But it takes extra time, and when I draw the character in slightly sillier moments, I was just ending up rounding her eyes like this. And so, but the thing is, I want to give her eyes a little bit of a slant, so they're just a bit more almond shaped. And there we go. So how are people doing today? It's hot here in Montana. We could definitely use the thunderstorm we had last night right now. At least I think so. I really like thunder and lightning storms. They're always kind of impressive just to sit back and watch. I've never gotten tired of that, even though I've gotten older. So here, these are Red's eyes. So they are got just a little bit of that almond shape to them. And then I'm going to adjust her eyebrows, just because I've been to kill time while I've been doing bits of work. I have been watching some of my favorite stuff, which has been the Three Stooges. And I've always enjoyed Moe as a character, because it's not just the ineptitude of him being the lead stooge of Larry, Shemp, or Joe, or Curly Joe. It's the seriousness about the character, where he is on a completely different wavelength. So I've been kind of thinking of taking a little bit of that classic bit there, and then passing it over here to Red, even though she's kind of unlucky. I was thinking, rather than make her a straight goofball character like you would see traditionally, I want to keep a little bit of that seriousness there. And I think in order to get just a little bit extra life and emotion from the character, I'm going to have to give her the more narrow eye shape here. That's something I remember from Zelda Wind Waker, which ironically that's kind of where this style came from, and I wasn't, because I was too focused on finishing this tune, I stopped thinking what the art style ended up actually looking like. So it kind of looks like a Zelda Wind Waker art style done by someone who isn't the biggest Zelda fan, but I still appreciate it. See, she looks a little too serious right now. I mean, I suppose I could just do this. Wow. Jeez. You can see the character looks a little less heavy in terms of eye shape right there, so I will just do this. We'll just increase her eyes and then adjust it. Boom. Easy peasy, 1, 2, 3, easy. So the idea behind the Let's Make a Cartoon stream, I know this is probably going to take a little bit of time to build up, but after I finish the design here for Red, I will draw a crude treasure chest design, and then I will draw a crude background design just to give you an idea of what the setting is. And then I will do oh, that ruined everything, didn't it? Then I will do some storyboard frames just for the setup. So the setup will just be Red walking down a dungeon hall. Come on, you. Don't do this to me. It'll be Red walking down a dungeon hall. She comes across an open room and sees a treasure chest centered in the room. That's why it ain't working. Oh, I'm my own worst enemy here. I forgot to get rid of the white. There we go. Much better. So, there we go. After that, if nobody decides what's going to happen, I will just go through one of the crude story choices I made. So, one of the things I've learned about very simplistic story structure for doing shorts is it starts off with a character goal. So Red's goal is to get to the treasure chest. Well, what's going to stop her? Because if she just goes to the treasure chest, opens up the lid, and gets the treasure, there's no story. But if she goes to open up the treasure chest and a trap gets set off and stops her from going there, then you have a story, because now she's trying to figure out how to get the treasure, because she's got money she owes now, which normally I would have just a few moments of a story showing that off. But because this is meant to be just a simple short, we just want to keep it down to a character tries to do something unexpected happens, she gets around it using her skill set and or intelligence, and then something else happens and keeps her from winning. So I'll make the character just a little less serious there. She's done. Okay. So this is her new design for the tunes. Eventually, if you guys keep watching my silly tunes and helping me with my watch time, I will do more. And maybe one of these days I will let Red actually win and get back her suit of armor, because that's gonna be her goal. But I've been spending a few days watching and studying some YouTube animated shorts and just getting a few ideas off that. And so the character, you want your characters to have a few more downs than ups, but you don't want to always give them downs, because even the Three Stooges never really won in their shorts, but they would have ups. And that it's been fun going back and watching the old short films that they used to do and just trying to get better. And some of it is me still coming to terms with everything that's just happened to my family. And because my father's life has just changed, and my life has just changed because of it, and so has my mother's, and my siblings as well, because he went from being what we thought was healthy and functional to now he is disabled. And it's a horrible thing to watch your father go from being active and independent to kind of being sick to ultimately getting diagnosed with a terminal illness. It's not going to, which I will reiterate, with what he's sick with, it will not kill him today. It won't kill him today. It won't kill him tomorrow. It's not going to kill him next month. It's not going to kill him probably for a year. Preferably, I'm hoping at least 5 years. Because he has stage 3 multiple myeloma, and there are only 3 stages to this. The bright side is even people who have stage 3, 53% of the people who have stage 3 still live up to 5 years. And so one of his kidneys is getting back to normal. The other one is taking its time. I don't know how much damage it has taken from the calcium buildup and all the plasma, but I want to try and give him at least 5 years, and he's got to get a marrow transplant. It's a self marrow transplant because that's how you treat this, because the self marrow means your body won't reject it. Red's head is a little too wide for the new body. What do you guys think? I think the hair is just a little too wide. I think it's pretty good, but I'm gonna do my damnedest to make sure my father gets his 5 years. I'm gonna do my damnedest to make sure that those 5 years are 5 good years. But for right now, he is gonna be recovering very slowly. And eventually when he gets the marrow transplant, that will give him a chance at getting those 5 years. So the way it works is after they kill off all the cancer cells in your body, then you got to recover. And once you get healthy, they determine if your body is in a condition where you can donate your own marrow, and then they will take the donated marrow and transplant it to other parts of your body. And then after that's done, in theory, it's supposed to essentially double the amount of marrow you have. And then once that's done, the cancer is supposed to go in remission. And the average, from what I've been reading, seems to be up to 32 months. So that's almost 3 years, just for that. So his immune system is going to be minimal for a while, but and that's going to mean he's going to have to spend more time at home than he would normally, because normally my father would be out with my mother doing rock hounding, because they like to go down the river. They like to just look for agate or opal or onyx or whatever types of rocks there are, and polish and collect them. But he's no longer going to be driving. That's going to be me, because I'm now the sole driver in the house right now, and thank those idiots in California for keeping me from getting my license renewed the other day, because I needed my birth certificate copy, because my birth certificate is in my desk, and my desk is in a storage unit in another state right now. But I sent out for it over a week ago, and then just the other day they sent me an email. Hi, you sent it to the wrong place. Sorry it took us so long to send you this email, but we're understaffed. At the very least, they refunded my money, and the certificate is supposed to arrive on Monday. But Monday it's cutting it a little close, because Monday is when my father gets out of the hospital, and that's when I got to drive down to, I will most likely be driving back down to Billings. Billings is a 3-hour and 20-minute drive. So that's a 6-hour and 40-minute round trip, not including stopping off for gas. We flying my father out is a possibility, but it depends on if they can accommodate him. The issue being, uh, he's got his license and his ID and everything. I don't know if he's supposed to renew yet or not. There we go. Hey, red looks like red again. Very nice. But the plane trip would be a hell of a lot faster. You know, an hour and 20-minute plane ride over a 3-hour and 20-minute ride if I don't have to stop for gas, which you have to stop for gas here in Montana. You always got to keep that tank half full, because you never know what you're going to run into, and you got to keep on. You got to keep it that way, because sometimes there's construction on the road, or even though, you know, the speed limit on the freeway is generally 80 miles an hour if you're not driving a moving truck or anything big. But a plane ride would be faster, even though my concern is him being exposed to someone who might be sick, because right now his immune system is very, very minimal. So getting him home in one piece, that's the goal. Okay. Because I don't want to sacrifice all my detail here for red, I'm going to give her a little bit of shading just on the nose. And let's see, I think her nose needs to be lowered a little bit. And I think what I'm also going to do real quick, first things first, the nose goes down a bit, and then I'm going to change the I'm going to change the angle here on her head. So you can see it's curved just a little bit right there. What I'm going to do is curve it just a little bit more. I know it's a small thing and it probably won't matter to you guys when you see the finished tune. These are things I always try and look for, because I want to grow. And the only way you can do that really is by experimenting. So, yeah, that didn't look too bad. Let's fix up these little gaps here that I use for breaking apart. So since nobody has responded for what they want to have happen in the story, I guess I'll choose. So what I'm going to do is we will have, I guess you can call it a "you thought you were smart" moment with red here. So the "you thought you were smart" moment is going to be real simple. It's going to be, I will take the color, the lighter hair color here. So I'm going to have red walk up to a room. She's going to see the treasure chest. And she's going to toss a rock. And the rock is going to set off a trap of some kind. I'm thinking just because it would be nice to do a different type of effect, because I just did a spike trap, I will do a fire trap where we'll just have a jet of flame poof out from around there. So she'll go around it. And then when she goes to open up the chest, there'll be nothing inside, and then it's going to be a mimic. Because I was talking to somebody about this, a little idea I had the other day online just for a little bit, and they recommended going for a mimic in a D&D style cartoon, just because they are such a classic and iconic monster that people run into. It's hard to not use them. So just adjust her eyebrows a little bit. I think her eyebrows are nice, but they're a little too long. So I think we're just going to give her those short little eyebrows. Like so. And okay. That's it. So this is Red's new design. You can see it is more toony. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. Go back. Thank you. It is more toony than what I had here. It sadly is less detailed. Her arms are still a little stubby. And the last change I'm going to do, because I really like the contrast with this darker red here. Well, this darker red shade anyways. So we're going to do this. This keeps a pattern. And that doesn't look too bad. So there we go. Now if I really wanted to go for hyper stylization, I would drag her dress out so it's almost like at that perfect triangle. And like I say, I'm going to take a look and see how that looks real quick, because it doesn't sound like a bad idea. You know, stylization is really kind of a hard thing to learn. And ooh, oh, that does look good. Look at that. Now it's not realistic, it's not practical, but this is a cartoon. So because I kind of just like the overall look of this, I think we're going to go for it. So there we are. Oh, dang it! I don't want it. I don't want that. Thank you. Yeah, you can see I've got a little edge there. Trying to get rid of that. Wow. That really does look nice. I think just to tone it down slightly, I will do that. There. We did it. Okay. Everything is toned down just slightly. Yeah, I really am surprised sometimes at how just a little bit of simplicity goes a long way. So, next step is, oh, I gotta do it on the other side. There we go. Got just that tiny. Yeah, that's what I was worried about. Yeah, this is always a problem with doing line work in Flash. You make a mistake. So, there we go. And I just need to correct this here. Okay. Good to go. Just need to correct her jaw a little bit right there. Whoops. Might actually help if I selected the right area. And I will pass on giving her a smile for right now. There we are. Okay. We're good. So you can see, yeah, there's less shading here, which is kind of unfortunate because I liked having all that shading, but it's getting there. Oh, it might actually help if I save this also, so I don't lose my work. So, one last thing to do here. I'm going to take this shield and simplify it a little bit anyways. Yeah, this is always when you get to certain things that you're going to draw, you gotta be careful what you simplify, because this is supposed to be a shield and have a little bit of weight to its look. So to help keep it make it look like it's got some depth to it as well, I just do this. There. You just use the lighting and say, okay, there we go, it's done. And then this is her new sword, even though I did like that other sword, but the idea is the character is broke. Because she's now back to essentially level 1. Her gear ain't gonna be very good. So rather than give it the needle nose look, I'll do this. Because I want to try and keep some of that simplicity and synchronicity that I was talking about in terms of design earlier. And still keep the angle. Unfortunately, that needle nose look is starting to look better if I do that. So this is her new design. There we are. So this is her new design, her new weapon. And her new shields. That means everything here is no more. So yeah, originally what I was going to do for episode 2 was going to have her fight goblins. But that's going to have to wait. At least a little bit anyways. Partially because I'm trying to find something new that people haven't already seen a million times over. I was almost tempted to do a parody of Goblin Slayer, but it didn't feel right to do that. Not not to mention I've only got, you know, these are shorts. These are meant to be between 15 seconds and between 40 seconds. So this is her new design. It's much less simple. I may still do something with that shield, but the old design was a little slightly more serious, even though it was toony. And I had some details there that I liked. I really enjoyed the dress that I had her with originally, but I've got to simplify things just a little bit more for the sake of production. It feels very strange having to do that, but I need to get more work out, not just for the sake of keeping my YouTube channel going, but for the sake of feeling normal, because you don't feel, when you're in the situation I'm in, you don't feel normal. Every day presents weird new problems, and wondering if you're going to get a phone call from somebody regarding something on one day, or just if the idiots from California are going to give you your birth certificate, or if those idiots from Montana are going to give you your replacement car title, because the car title is also in the desk with everything else. So everyone's got problems. I try not to let what's happening here stomp me into the ground, because I've heard from everybody who's taking care of a relative who's got cancer. You can't do, you got to find ways to separate yourself, and work separates me. I've always kind of done this, even back when I was a caretaker for my grandmother and she was dying of cancer. But it feels nice to be able to work, even if it's just doing something small. It would be even nicer to be able to actually get something done a little faster, which is part of why this series is starting. So I know not everybody's available to watch me on Saturdays, but I don't know what my streaming schedule is going to be like. And unfortunately, when you're a digital artist, everything takes, it takes a little bit longer to get stuff done. So the last thing I'm going to do here before I call it a day on Red's design, I'm going to change the location of this scar. I think what we're going to do is that. Because now she's got a scar on the cheek, a scar there, and then she's got she's got a little bit of she's got a bicep band right there, and that's why I don't want to have the other one right there, because I'm trying to spread things out. And I guess the last thing I'll do, just to help her stand out a little bit more, is it will increase the width of the glow in her hair, just so it stands out a little more. Yeah, my friends just texted me. We found out what I'm doing in the stream and things like that. And he said the Vorophiles are probably going to like the Mimic eating red cartoon idea. I said, yeah, well, I've done commission work for them before. I don't mind. It's not the weirdest fetish out there. Though Although then again, I'm not fully up to date on what Rule 34 is these days, so don't quote me on that. Okay, here is Red's brand new design. I think just to sell this a little bit more, we're going to do one thing here with her nose. There. Okay, so this is the character for the cartoon. I don't have full names for these characters. I kind of just like the idea of naming the characters after colors for right now. So her name is Red Rouge. And I know I should probably experiment further with just one last thing here, just to help sell the image of the character a little bit more. So I'm going to go to red, which is a darker shade of red. Too dark. There's that, and then yeah. Well, it works. It's not perfect. I'm kind of curious. What if I do this? This is where I have to curb my nitpicking just a little bit, but I can ease up a little more. Yep. Not dark enough. Darker. Yes. There's one. Yeah, it's going to have to be a bright color. Yeah, that's too much. So we'll just give her top more color. Ooh, actually. Yeah, I think that works. Yeah, I'm just trying to keep a color scheme with the characters here. Just for the sake of keeping some extra personality. This is going to have to be bright red because it contrasts with her hair too much. So does that. Okay, I'll just go for straight bright red. Yeah, that will do, I think. Let me lighten this, and then that's it for her character design. Okay, so for the cartoon, this is her new look. Trying to stick to character shapes. So look over everything one last time just to see if that isn't going to be something that's going to drive me crazy down the road or what. That looks better. Yeah, I'm just going to have to go back and boom. There we go. Okay. That is her new look. Yeah, you can tell she's not really holding the shield or the stubby little sword, but it still does its thing. Besides, I can always distort the image just to create the illusion. So this is going to be her new look as she's trying to pay off her debt. And we'll see what happens with the guild once I sort that out, since I've still got geez, I've got to find a way to do 30-second episodes. Whew. So the interesting thing when you have to do a tune is you really got to come up with interesting ideas. And I'm not sure I've got any interesting ideas. But I've got some fun ideas at the very least, and that's nothing to be ashamed of. So this is always where making a cartoon becomes a little bit more of a hassle than it should be, and that is when you have to storyboard everything and you've only got half of an idea. So fortunately, even though I've only got half of an idea, half of an idea is better than no idea at all. And I've been fumbling with no idea at all for 2 days now. Don't know if that's the heat, but it's giving me grief all the same. So I'm going to choose gray for the color. So because this is a short, I would normally have a more fancy establishing image to show off the setting. But I'm going to be simple. We're going to go for the top view angle. Like so. Just to give you an idea. So in order to do that, we do this, and we do this. Oh, that's not wide enough. Here we are. That's wide enough. Here we are. So this is going to be our establishing shot. You'll get just a very crude sense of what the setting actually is. So first thing we do is we put a door right there because I want this to look more fantasy-like. Try and make everything look a little bit more grand. We put a door like this. And there we go. So now you can see visually I will put one more door over here. Excuse me, I'll put a door right here. And then we put another door right there. So you can see visually there's something very different about this setting. That right here, this will catch your eye just a little bit. So this will help show what the character wants. And then for red, she's going to be this little square and triangle. Oh, no, wrong triangle. I like to do triangles like this. This is going to be red. So this establishes the character height, just to give you a little bit of scope. So you can see she's perfectly lined up with here, but you can see how small she would be in the big room. So since this is a storyboard, we have the character taking just a few steps right here. But you need to show that there's something going on here, just a little bit. And so what you do is what I find works. Take some blue here. First off, you put some cobwebs. because now it looks, now you get a better sense of the setting's tone. So cobwebs right there. Second, put a torch back here. Put some crummy looking fire right there for setting up this shot. And then lastly, just put a skeleton down here. And there you go. Yeah, this art style is kind of making everything look like it's some bastardized son of Minecraft. But there we go. So there's this. Here's our skeleton. So if I shrink this back, you can just a little bit. So here is the establishing shot. So have some cobwebs, we have a torch, and if I increase the size of the skeleton just a little bit there, you have the tone set just a little bit now. So that's shot number one. Shot number two. It's just going to be, oops, it would actually help if I got rid of that. So shot number two is going to be simple. We're just going to have the great big old door here. And this is going to be me repeating myself just a little bit from the last episode. So I'll try and make that door look a little less like a vagina. But so what we do for the next shot is have Red poke her head around the corner. So this sets up the scope of the room. And then in the very foreground right here, we see what she's looking at. So this will be the treasure chest. So let me change this. So try and get the shape of the room be somewhat rounded. Like I said, I'm repeating myself just a little bit, so you can see it's not the largest of rooms, but now we've got a very simple sense of something going on. So this is A, this is B, and because this is a 2-for-1 shot, I split this up here, and then get rid of this, increase this, and then, come on you weasel. There we go. You just increase the size, right there. Just the size, please, Flash. I don't need anything else. So this is a 2-for-1 shot. So it starts off, you have a close-up on Red. She peeks around the corner here, and then we zoom in to the chest, and the room expands. I did a shot like this in the last episode. So I will be repeating this. The idea is you have that close-up right here so you can see the character's reaction. and then you see what she's looking at. And then, of course, we split it up just a little further. This is the last shot I'm storyboarding for today, and that is you have to have the reveal shot. And in this case, it's just going to be your classic fantasy treasure chest. Nothing too special, but if you're a treasure hunter like the character is, this is what you want. Boom. So there's A, and because I need to put some crude form of background setting, we just do this. So there, now you've got some sense of blocking, so you know, so it's clear where everything in the room is. I'm just going to shrink this down just a little bit too. Boom. Okay. So those are the 3 shots. Don't tell too much of a story yet. And there we go. So this will just be Red walking down here a few steps, poking around the corner, zoom in, and then reveal on what it is she's looking at. So now comes the hard part. So the first thing I have to do now is set the background. And this is always where things get to be a little tricky, even though I am trying to simplify things. So what I like to do is I like to take the line tool in Flash. Oops. And use appropriate colors, thank you. Here we go. So since I can't draw these nice angles on my own, I cheat. Which is, I'm sure this is something all animators do now. Not because we're lazy, but because we're lazy. You know. But you want to use all that energy for the bigger stuff. Okay. So this is a little too high as it is right now. I'm trying to create the scope of the room being a little bit more enclosed. Okay. There's that. There's that. Get my borders set up here. So the last thing to do, oops, is we do one more copy and paste, but this is for the doors. So I'm trying to keep the tone here. There's one. Oops. There's 1 and 2. There, done. I'm just gotta try and match the line work here. Well, it doesn't have to be perfect, as I am right now as an animator. I like to try and keep things looking nice. So here is the line work for the bulk of the background. The last thing to do is, of course, the big door. And in order to make this look less adult, I guess you could say, I will just do this. We can still keep the difference in shape there. And it shows that, yeah, this is something a little different than these other 2 dinky rooms. So yeah, this is me trying to be clever with my with my framing. Even though I'm not that clever. Being creative and clever are two different things. And while I am very creative, I'm not as clever as I wish I was. Because if I was clever, I probably would have figured out how to make more tunes like this a little faster a long time ago. But I'm doing what I'm doing. So next thing you do, you give shape to everything by filling in these lines. And because I want to make this whole area look strange without too much work, I'm going to give it a different color than you would normally see. So right now I'm just using this ugly gray just for the sake of simplicity. So now that that's all done, there you go. And you can see some of these lines are still a little too thick, but you get around that real quick. There we are. Because this is essentially going to be a room made up of stone and brick, or just stones, because it's supposed to look like your traditional D&D style dungeon. Even though I haven't played D&D in so many years, I don't even remember. But so the last thing I do that will finish up the line work is this. Because this will create the illusion of depth. That this has a little bit of life to it, that it looks kind of like it's been lived in, and kind of like it's been in use. You know, animation is all technically an illusion, but it's how you use what you got. So, there we go. Correct this because this is crooked. There we go. Okay, so that was the easy part. Let me zoom out. I gotta cover up all these details for just a moment. So, in order to make this room and everything in it look a little sinister, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the color. I just did a green room, and I just did a green and purple setting. Let's see if we can do some kind of a hard, ugly orange. Whew. That is ugly. Oops, that's not what I want. So there's the color for the walls. The floor needs to be something separate. So for the floors, I'm gonna try and keep matching the tone here. Oh, look at that! I've got an area that isn't entirely enclosed. So we've got our very crude setting here, and it's passable as it is right now. So don't start with me, Flash. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change its color so it's a little bit more brown. Yeah, that'll do. So there's one. I think we're going to go for a slightly more orange on the floor. Not dark enough. Ah. Well, now everything just looks vomit colored. No, everything still looks vomit colored. Okay. Jeez, I think we're gonna have to go with something more traditional. There we are. Okay. Not perfect, but I will take it. So, in terms of lighting, we're going things in these rooms are going to be just a little bit darker than everything out here. So this is our setting, part 1. Get rid of the line, of the crummy line work. So that's part 1. The next step is an easier step, I should think. And that's going to be adding some cobwebs up here. Nothing, I'm not going to go wild, but you want to have something. Okay. There's our crude web shapes. Oops, come on. Hey, come on. Yeah, doing cobwebs is not something I've ever been amazing at. But I can still get the job done. You know, you don't have to be perfect to do a lot of this stuff. Besides, every time you do something right, you get a little bit better, and I guess one of these years I'll figure out how to do it so it looks a little bit less amateurish. But no, that's not going to work. This will, though. Always got to take into consideration the shape of the web. Because you can add a lot of little bit of life in these shots if you have a spider crawling around somewhere. It helps set the settings, and it looks nice because then you know it makes the world look like it's lived in, like it's not everything isn't just a static shot. But yeah, I haven't been doing much animation for a while. I've been trying. Keep getting little things done. Not quite making the progress that I should be. I'm unfortunately going to have to turn some work down that a guy wants me to do because I don't think I can deliver it now. The stuff going on with my father, it's going to be very strange because the first week when he gets home, we've got to fill out a bunch of government paperwork and sort things out with them because I'm going to be his caregiver now. He is going to need a lot of help, even though he's not going to be asking for it, which means I have to watch. Because that's just how my father has always been. But the other issue is doing errands for the family, sorting stuff out like that. And then we've got our Medicare phone call. I mean, well, the phone call to get in on Medicare, because we're not there yet. Okay, there's the spider web. And unfortunately, the more I've been looking into this stuff online just to get a rough idea of what I'm up against, my time to work is going to be severely condensed, especially for the first month. Because 3 or so weeks down the line, he's going to have another round of chemo. And they'll see how he's doing, and if everything's going well, then I don't know, maybe in a month or so of this, he'll be well enough. They'll have all the cells out, and then they can get him his surgery to get that transplant. The only thing is, we don't know how well things are going to go, and there's no guarantee. So, I'm just hoping everything goes the way it's supposed to. And when I say the way it's supposed to, I mean all this shit will plateau at some point. And my father, even though he's not going to be who he was, because his body's going to be very fragile after all this, we'll still get a chance to enjoy his life. Because we got grandkids coming over to visit. And we've got other family members who want to come and visit. And he's going to need to be well for that. So, that's kind of where my thinking has been mostly. Just trying to find bits of information online or in books and whatnot to try and help him out. So let's see. So here is our first setting. And I have to get rid of the floor. And there's a very good reason to show you why I'm getting rid of the floor. So first off, I will lock everything in place. And then I will put down a brand new floor for Red to walk on. So we're going to go for pea green stone floor. But remember, the idea is simplicity here. So, where's my pea green? There's my pea green. So, it's got that ugly looking pea green color. I may end up dressing that up a little later, but for right now, that's what it is. So because the lighting in these rooms is different than the lighting in the hall, we do this. Okay. So you can see now there's a slight difference in the lighting. I will correct it just a little further here by doing this, because this is what happens when you're dealing with light sources. So now, oops, didn't want to do that. So, hello, Reforest. So now, in order to create the illusion of lighting a little further, turn that into a symbol. Add a blur. Unlock. And there we go. So now you can see it's got just a little bit of a haze on the lighting. It kind of looks doable. I don't like doable. I want dynamic. I know that changing it that much isn't going to make it too dynamic, but it'll make it dynamic enough so it kind of looks like it's a grass floor now. So in order to keep things simple, I go back to that pea green. I get a much lighter version of it. just add a block here. Whoa, look at that. That looks terrible. That looks horrible. I can't do that. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to open up my window and put my color there aside for right now. Get the higher color. So how are you doing today, Reforced? Doing that well, huh? Here we go. I'm trying to match these colors here just a little bit. There we go. So now I go back here to the stone. Get rid of my skeleton for right now. Okay, so it's lazy. In order to pull this off, I gotta do this, actually. Because I just wanted to see how it looked. But this is how things are gonna be. So we do this. Oops. There we go. I mean, do that. Try and create that illusion again. Oh, Flash, you are really making life hard. Stop it. So you can see how that looks right there. If I close this off, it gives you a rough idea of what I'm trying to pull off. Because I don't need to put a lot here, but I do need to put a set amount. So just put some bricks and stones right there. Right there. A big one right there. So the idea is you do all this and you just connect a few pieces here and there. And I think I just gotta put one last one over here and then I'm done. It just creates a bit of an illusion that there's a little bit more depth here. And then the last thing I do, because this is going to be the light source, so everything surrounding here needs to be a little bit brighter. Yes, I will correct this later, but you add just that faint little outline around some of these stones. Because actual lighting on pavers and things like that, you get that little bit there, because that's how lighting works. Okay. That's done. And as before, this won't look amazing, but it's not going to look bad either. So if I correct this a little bit, correct that a little bit. Okay, so one of these stones is always going to need to have a little bit more detail than the others. just to create a little bit more of an illusion that I'm not as lazy as I'm being. So you just do this right there, right there, and boom. And we're done. So you can see it's still not perfect. It's not meant to be, but it's got just a little hint of depth to everything in terms of color. You can make out what the room is supposed to be, and because this stone right here that she's standing on is as crooked as it is, there we go. So that is, this room is now about half done. I'm still really not happy with how this cobweb came out. I may find a more simplistic way to do one later. But the next step, now that we've gotten this much done, is I gotta go to this layer, and this layer needs details. It needs details pretty bad. So what I will generally do in these situations to create that little hint of lighting is color everything in almost like it was Legos. And I'll show you what I mean. There. So you can see now it's got just that little hint of detail to it to show you what it would look, what it's supposed to actually be in terms of texture. Because there's an art form to doing stones in shading, and I'm still not great at it yet. There's a lot to learn, and I've only learned a few lessons with it. But also because my computer has trouble with files once they start getting to be too big. I have to skimp. So that's me skimping right there. It's because the lighting on this would be a little bit more rounded. You do this. And you've got to keep that roundedness going on right up here. So now you can kind of see, it could be a stone wall, maybe it's just got funny wallpaper on it, but so that's one section done. Because the light over here is going to catch a lot more of that, I just got to do this, because this side is going to be catching the least of that light. And the only reason I'm breaking that lighting rule a little bit more over here is just to create the illusion of a little bit more depth. So now you can see it kind of looks like a stone castle room, and you can see it kind of looks like it's got some lighting now, which is fantastic. But there's still a ways to go. And then once I finish up with all this, like I'm done, I'm almost done right now. Dagnabbit. Come on, dummy. You can do this. You've done it a million times before. Okay. And there we are. We'll take a look at things real quick right now. So if I shut off the border there, you can see it kind of looks like there's some lighting going on in here, but only kind of. You know, it's very, very small. So to get around that, the last thing you got to do is put one more color in. And you got to be careful how you do this. So this is how I'm going to do it. So I go here. Boom. And now suddenly there is a little bit of depth to this. And it's still going to look flat, sure. But that's not always a bad thing, especially if you're doing what I'm doing, where I'm trying to go about this in a more stylized manner. Not because I'm too good for detail, just because I'm trying to save some time in what I do. But I'm also trying to make it look nice, so it's still, even though it looks minimal, it's got hints of that detail to it. So I'm seeing what I'm doing right, and I'm seeing what I'm doing wrong. I'm doing that wrong just a little bit, because that's right, I'm trying to capture the edges, not the whole brick. I was doing that type of shading for a different room earlier. I guess I haven't broken off from using that yet. But here you go. So this is simplicity. It's not as dynamic as some of the settings I did in the last tune. And even I lament that just a little bit. But it's not bad. So I'll just put a little bit more here, and then the last thing I will do, which will finish up a chunk of this, is add in some artificial lighting. So artificial lighting is where I just take like a black circle, hollow out the middle, and post it around the edge of the tune. Because when I do that, it creates the illusion in that this torch here is doing something. And you really want to create that illusion because it looks nice. It'll be difficult. Because there are much more talented and smarter animators than me out there who do stuff like this. But it works. It creates that hint of illusion. Hint of illusion. It creates the hint of depth, like this is got just that little bit more to it. And it's pleasing to the eye, which is always something I struggle with because I am a perfectionist. I hear dogs woofing downstairs. Must be the mailman. No, wait, no, the mailman was here. Might be a neighbor. So, there we go. So I will not add any more to this wall there. I'm going to do some of that on my own separately. And, damn it, I couldn't make the cobweb work. It just looks goofy. Not the right type of goofy either. So Now you can see we've got just that little hint of lighting going on here. So this is what I mean when I say artificial lighting. Take black and you add an outline around the edges like so. And it's kind of like a border. Side films used to use a lot of this. I need to add just a little bit more there, and a little bit more there. Okay, so this is our border. This is going to be our artificial lighting. Go to alpha, change that down to 44, and then the last thing you do is you go to blur. And then you just blur it up. And there you go. This is how you create the illusion of there being artificial light. Now I will have to add a little bit more down here and around the doors, but now all of a sudden this whole room looks a little bit more like I spent some real time on it. And I will probably go back and spend more real time on some of the finer details on this, just so it looks a little bit more snappy. But because I did that there, I've got to do a little bit of that down here too. So if I do this here, that there, and that there, because the lighting in these other rooms is supposed to be different, it's supposed to be a little heavy, but not as dark. Because you can see now it looks really dark. So go to blur. Do that. And then I go to my alpha level. And then just do that. And there we go. You take away all the lighter details here. This almost looks good now. You can see there's still a lot of room for a lot of different bits of detail. Like one of the things I'm going to do later. I will scroll down here. There we go. So another way I like to add detail to stuff is you take this line right here, and then you put smaller versions of it right there, or right there, or right there. And you put enough of these smaller ones, smaller ones meaning smaller stones. You do all that. Everything looks a little bit better now, even though it's still very simple. But there you go. I'm just going to put one or two small ones. Okay, that is enough to get the point across of what this room is. So here we go. We've got our shading, we've got our detail, and you've got just that little bit of a glow to where the torch is, and because my OCD is starting to kick in, and this is where I'm starting to nitpick more, I do this. You use the really thin tool to spread these out just a little bit more, because these big ugly ones right there are going to cause friction later on. But for right now, oh, shut up, Flash. But for right now, this is solid stuff. And you just do a little bit of this to create some more detail. So there we go. And yeah, you can barely see it here. I'm not sure if you'll even be able to see it on the video, but for right now, that's it. So the last thing that needs to come in before this background is done, outside of me doing this. So I forgot one thing that you have to do. You can see how nice and neat everything looks here. because it's stone, you want to add ridges to a few spots. Because these ridges sell it. It just show it really makes you look at this and go, okay, that's stone. Or this is a stone wall and stuff like that. But these ridges work miracles when you're trying to find ways to add just a little bit of extra detail into stuff, because now it looks, I don't want to quite say organic, but it looks like what it would look like. I'm not explaining that very well, I'm sorry. So yeah, you can see right how everything right there now, it's just because of that little bit of a detail there. It kind of looks a little bit more decrepit, which is the goal of what I'm doing here. And it doesn't take too long to do it either. You know, everything you do when you animate, it takes time. And you want to find the ways to put more time in the stuff that matters. And unfortunately, backgrounds always matter. You can't get away from that at all. You got to find ways to condense things for sure. But you never want to cheat your audience of having a nice background to look at if you can help it. Even if it's a small thing for just a few moments. You give them a nice background, it makes the world that the characters you're animating in feel a little bit more lived in, and it shows, at the very least, as an animator, even if you're a little sloppy, you care. And I'm very sloppy, but but even though I'm very sloppy, I still care a lot. Oops. Just do, you SOB. Oh, all the words I want to use to describe Flash sometimes. Blech. I always wish Adobe took better care of it, but they didn't. There we go, and one last thing, and then I'm done. Okay, and again, it's not perfect. It doesn't look too bad though, because I think I've only spent 40 minutes or so working on this, and there's probably going to be me spending more time on this later, just to make it look a little bit more professional, because I'm really pushing myself to up my game on some of my backgrounds and stuff. But the last thing we want to do here, because you can see it doesn't look perfect, but it does look like it's got a little bit of depth. It looks like people have used it for something, and it looks like it's gotten kind of old. And these are all good things that I really wanted to do. Oh, that's why So, yeah, when I start doing bigger projects, we'll see how things go. Because, ooh, I just caught a mistake. I have to have a wall right here. Right back there, we have a conflict. This is me not watching my space and getting lost in the details. So, let's see, it should be easy enough to fix, though. So there needs to be a wall right there, because this is a hall. So, there we are. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the darker color and put that right there. Raise that up and put it right there if I can. First things first, thank you. So, oh, I hear a phone call. It works. One moment, that's probably my father. Yeah, it's my father. I'm going to give him a call. He's still in the hospital. Okay, I'm back. So as I was saying, you gotta have some bits of shading back here also. And I will be finishing up this stream very shortly, for at least today. I will be back. Oops. Oh, I'll be back doing some more of this tomorrow. And geez, I keep forgetting I gotta post that video for you guys to show you what I'm up to and trying to do for my YouTube channel, because I need to start earning some money on it. I know it gets real tiresome hearing me talk about that, but I got hospital bills coming in. I said I want to do my damnedest to help my father out. And unfortunately, creating stuff is about all I'm really good at. So there we go. So here is our establishing shot. You can see it's kind of a dungeon. It's got just bits of detail. The last thing we need right here is the torch. And this is always the easiest part. At least I think it is, because, you know, it's a torch. You just do a dirty, dried up old piece of wood, or try to make it as dirty and dried up as you can if you're someone like me who kind of isn't great at picking colors for stuff. And then it's just fire animation. And I'm actually pretty good at fire animation. So you can see these colors here. Just a little, oh, come on Flash, work with me, not against me. So these colors here are a little too dark for what I'm trying to do. And it's kind of funny. The lighter color is the right color for the exterior of the torch. And the darker color is better ignored. For right now, anyways. So, here we are. Do this to create. It's lazy. It's me using two colors to create a little depth. Again, you notice I keep going back to that. That's because it pays off. You know, you can still have things retain some depth and be flat looking. And that's the middle ground. So, there is our torch. Go ahead, kitty, you drink your water. Cat looks like she's perked up a little bit. That's good. Really don't want to have to take care of a sick animal while I'm taking care of my father, who's also sick. Rather have the sick rather have the animal healthy, so that I've got someone to keep me company while I'm taking care of things around the house. That's not quite going to work. That is going to work, though. Oh, I'm doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong, dummy. So, there we go. And here. I always forget the idea with the torch holder is you balance it against the wall. And here we go. So, in order to sell this completely, there we go. We just got to add a little bit of extra shading here. So this is 3 colors instead of 2. But you want to try and really add in just that little bit of extra detail if you can. Oh, that's too much. Here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this over, paste that right there. Because it needs a hint of, I think it needs a little blue to it. I'm going to change the color here just a smidge. There. Oops. It's from light to medium. Okay. That's that. So you can see now it's been about an hour working on this background, and yeah, that's about as long as it takes. I'm sorry it's so slow, but there we are. You can see everything is just about there. And because I'm trying to do stuff on 3s, which means that's the frame rate of 3, so it means every 3 frames of animation there is a new frame, as opposed to animating on 2s, which is every 2 frames. And animating on 4s is 4 frames. That is, I believe, what they traditionally use for your anime. But in my case, I'm still learning how to do 3s. So here's the fun part, and that is fire animation. So you just generally choose your red, because I'm feeling a little lazy. I'm going to do it. I usually like to start about like this. There we are. So it's just simple fire animation framework. So you just boom. Oh, wrong color. There you go. So this is a little bit more of a dynamic use of the color. Sometimes I prefer to use orange, but when I do fire, I actually prefer to animate in the middle. So this would be the middle of the fire animation. And all it takes is a few frames. And then I alternate the colors here, so I don't have to fuss too much about stuff like that. And there we go. And this is also why I like to animate in the middle of an action, because I can already see in my mind what the frame before is. So let's see. We want 3s, so we just go back and do this. So fire animation is tricky because there's so many ways to do it. So many ways to do it. But there we are. So we just do this. And the interesting thing about it is, because there's so many ways to do it, you can alternate it based on what type of fire you want. This is just going to be simple torch fire. So it just needs to have that simplistic little cycle that I'm going to recycle the frames by just having one simple loop. So this is what it looks like. because I'm still not sure how things are going to go up, we just put it on 2s for right now. And then because I'm feeling a little persnickety with how things are going, let me take a look at this. There we go. Huh. I was not expecting it to look like that. That might be for the best. Try this real quick. Oops. Kind of want to do this like so. There we go. Okay. Okay, yeah, I can see what the problem is. So this is supposed to loop over, like so, and I'm only getting half a loop. Damn, I hate it when I mess up like that. Fortunately, I can do this and I can start over entirely and be done. So the way you get around that, since I'm just gonna have to settle for simplicity, is I like to start at the end. There's one, go one frame over. And there's 2. Okay, this needs to be pulled over just a little bit more right there. So the idea is I'm stretching and skewing this flame just a little bit. So it's an animation trick you can use for motion, and it's always been one of my favorite tricks to use. See right there, that's too close. That's looking better. So as the flame gets larger, it shrinks on the sides. And real fire kind of doesn't do this. I haven't studied it enough. Okay, good. So get this last little bit over right here, because what we want is for it to stretch out like that. Hello, SG boy. How you holding up today? It's pretty damn hot here in Montana. I'm just hoping it cools off a little bit better tonight. Last night we got lucky. We had a thunderstorm kick in, and that took care of everything, even though I had to wait till midnight for it to do it. So I'm just trying out something here where the plan is I put out a story idea for a set character, and then people who sit around and watch it get to have a say in what happens and what gets animated. But nobody had anything to say this time. California Sun, yeah, I know that well enough. I got burned enough by that. So you can see this almost works, but there's a problem. And it's because it needs one more frame right there. So in order to really sell this, I have to add a loop frame. But yeah, so I'm going to be experimenting with an idea where I piece together a very crude story setup, and depending on who's in the audience, they get to have a say in what they want to have happen to the character. So that's what I want. This is the transitionary frame I need. So the idea for this one was I first changed Red's character design in order to simplify things. It was kind of sad to do that because I liked her original look. But her new look is still just fine the way it is. I just eased up on some of the colors, although I actually am going to have to change this one color right there to something lighter. I guess we'll just settle for this for right now. Yeah, fuck it. I'll just settle for that. I keep trying to find ways to outsmart myself, I suppose. But this is her new look. I had to simplify things. And the idea is, for this one, the story was going to be Red goes into a room, sees a treasure chest, and something happens. And so I just put out a few ideas for people to choose from. And I didn't have anybody who responded. So, I just ended up choosing. It's going to be her going into the treasure. She encounters a trap, goes around the trap, and when she goes for the chest, the treasure chest is a mimic, and it eats her. And the only reason I had the idea for a mimic was because a friend of mine, I was telling him about my idea, and he said, "Well, if you're doing something D&D related, you should do a mimic." So, and I don't think I'm going to do any voice acting in this one. I'm not too sure yet. My whole schedule is still very much in the everything's kind of up in the air for right now. So as for how long I intend to make the animation, this was going to be a short one. It's okay. It's okay. You're allowed to clean the bathroom. You should clean the bathroom. So I've still got to clean my bathroom some also, as a matter of fact. But yeah, the mimic seemed appropriate. Even though I kind of forgot about that just because I haven't played D&D in close to 14 years now, and I've kind of forgotten about some of these monsters. Because I was originally going to do the have her fight goblins, and then I got kind of worried. I'm going to lose a frame if I'm not careful. I got kind of worried that I might be relying too much on having the character fighting monsters rather than actually out there having adventures and doing goals and things like that actually help sell what's going on a little bit better. So I'm not too sure, because everything has changed in how I'm going to do stuff now. I'm trying to simplify things even further, and I kind of don't want to, but I need to simplify them just because with what's going on with my father right now. He's finishing his first round of chemo. Hopefully he'll be home on Monday. But my focus and my time on everything else has just been really... There we go. Hey, it's almost working now. It's been really all over the place. And I don't have a choice in that because he needs help. So what I'm looking at doing is doing shorter cartoons, stuff that's between maybe 30 to 40 seconds, just because I can still do that. It's just I can't do the bigger ones that I want to do at this moment in time. So yeah, he's got an uphill battle. He's got very low bone marrow now because of what the cancer has done. It's eaten away at it, and one of his kidneys still isn't working right. One of them has recovered very well. The other one, they're still working on it. So what I'm hoping will end up happening is we'll get him home. He can relax here for a while. I can work on his diet and build him up some. And then at some point, he's going to have to go back and do another round of chemo in a few weeks. But working on him in between is really important. And he's still coming to terms with everything because his body's going to be very fragile now because of the damage the cancer has done, much less how this cancer operates in general. So he's also going to have a transfusion of bone marrow. What they actually do is they're going to take his existing marrow, so he will be his own donor, which is kind of cool. I didn't know you could do that. But the downside of that all is they have to get all the crap out of his marrow first, and then once that's finally finished, then they can look into doing that. So I'm just still trying to get used to all the shenanigans that have been going on, because I wanted to renew my driver's license this week, and I can't because I don't have my birth certificate because it's in another state. It's actually an addresser in another state, and I thought I brought it with me and I didn't. So then there's that, and then I need to get my proper car registration, but I can't get my car registered because my title is also in that desk. And I have sent away for a new car title, and the clowns sent me back my paperwork after me waiting for several weeks, waiting for a month, and said you need to complete your registration before you can get a new copy of your title. But I can't get my title I can't get my registration without proof of title. So it's catch-22. I'll see what I can do, because on Monday I'll talk to the local DMV. I have to get a temporary license because my birth certificate copy is delayed. So yeah, the desk is over in Oregon. Can't get it. I would if I could. So let's see. This frame, these two frames are too similar. But it's a mess right now because we were originally we were going to make the trip to go to Oregon and get the last of the stuff out of the moving unit. And then my father's health started acting up, and that got postponed. And then now that we know what it is, I'm the sole caregiver now. So I don't know if I can even do that. But the other problem is the moving trucks use diesel. And diesel's they're starting to have shortages of it. It's just getting squished all the way around now. It's really irritating because there doesn't really seem to be anything you can do about it. So I don't quite know how to handle some of this stuff because we're just kind of used to doing it all on our own, and now my father's moving days are over. He's going to be very minimal in what he can do physically for a little while. Not to mention his immune system is very delicate right now. So I'm just trying to find answers, even though there really aren't any. So yeah, I also need to remember to do my how you can help me with YouTube watch time video, which I keep forgetting to do because I've had other stuff that we've been doing this week. But I'm just gonna need to get like 5 or 10 people who've got some time to sit around and watch me for watch my streams for about 15 to 20 minutes at a time, a couple times a week. And that'll sort this out, I'm hoping. And that because I do get watch time on my animation projects, but it's streams are right now are what I'm going to have to crutch on. And because this is animated on 3s, this will cycle over. Because yeah, I just crossed 1,000 subs, thankfully. It's taken a long time for me to do that, but now it's the 4,000 hours watch time problem that's around the corner. So once I get that done, I can partially relax a little bit. So let's see how this looks. Oh, yeah, I need to get rid of. Keep that. No, I can keep that. I gotta get rid of that. And then we'll take a look, because this is the lighting source, and now it's done. Hey, that's doable. So I storyboarded the first few shots on this. And we have passable animation. I think it's going to need one more frame because there's a jump here. Yeah, I see what I need to add. But yeah, I just need to get some more watch time, unfortunately, and it's always a pain to have to remind people that, just because there was a time in I still keep remembering that time on YouTube where you don't need the watch time. All you needed was the certain amount of subs, and so times have changed, and I haven't quite gotten with them, and so that's my fault for not being for not being ready. Okay, so it's passable. It's not great. Does not look very good on 3s, but I can work with that. So here is the first shot, and the last thing it needs is just a little bit of a glow. Just because this is how light operates. So what I always do with this is I use artificial lighting. Go to alpha, turn that down to just about 17, 18, 20, and then just blur it. And there we go. Oops. Hey. Get back there, you. Flash, you're starting to piss me off. Come on, stop it. So, because that's just a little too static, we'll just do that. And I can shrink it down so now you can almost not see it, but it adds just a little bit there. So there we go. So yeah, what I'm really hoping to do is get faster at animating stuff, because this background took me just a little too long to do. It's not bad. It gets the point across for what it is, and you've got just that little bit of fire animation there, which I'm still torn on because I know I could do a better job. But everything is supposed to be simplified also, and I have to watch that. But the idea is to, at the very least, not sacrifice too much detail in Red's design, which I think I've pulled that off. And then try and keep some detail in the backgrounds, which is always interesting, because I may end up redoing this just a little bit. There's a way to simplify what I have here and not lose anything that I was researching last night, and I've only done some of it with this. But it's not a bad background. It gets the point across on everything. So, but it is 5 o'clock right now. I've been streaming for a few hours. I think I'm going to call it quits for right now, and then I will be back and doing some more streaming tomorrow. And we'll see. I'm going to experiment in my off time, trying to get this background a little more simplified, just to see if I can pull it off. So, yeah, the torch needs more work. I will, if I do this at a faster speed, like here, I'm just manipulating the timeline. It looks okay. Changing up the shadows so they're just a little bit heavier works, but also I can get around that by doing this, where if I decrease the amount of shadow there, you can see I've got this ugly gap right there. So the only way to do that is to fix this. Don't be difficult, YouTube. So then all of a sudden now you can see the light isn't as strong, but the way to get around that is just doing this, where now I just got to decrease. Let me increase that. So there we go. Now everything looks a little bit more natural. Yeah, it does seem a bit off. I will probably end up redoing it or checking out some of the leftover animation I've got, because I've got bits and pieces of animation that I've done in the past I still have, so they're just assets for me to play around with. But yeah, you can see it gets the point across that at the very least there's something, that this is a little bit more of a sinister and foreboding place, especially if I do that and change the darkness there. But it looks a little bit more fantasy, which I like. And essentially I'm just going to be having Red walking straight down here for a few steps. But I might have to rethink how my approach to this is just a little bit, depending on what I learn when I take a look at some animated background options after I get off the stream. So that's everything for right now. So what I will do is, one, I'm actually going to make it a point to say when I'm going to do my stream tomorrow, because I forgot to do that last night. But yeah, the heat has been making me pretty sick, and my body has not recovered from that 6-hour drive to Billings. And then I've got to check the fuses on the AC unit in the car engine and double check and see if that's the problem, because if I can get the AC working, everything becomes a lot easier, even though that drive is still not a lot of fun. So, but that's it for this stream. I'm gonna head off for right now, and I'll make sure to get that one how you can help my channel video done tonight. So Yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's got to be done. So it'll be a lot easier to do in another hour and a half because then it'll drop at least another 2 degrees. Can't do much when it's in the 90s. But so that's everything for this stream for right now. I will do another one tomorrow, and I'll make sure that I let everybody know when I'm doing it. Tonight, catch everybody later. Thanks for hanging out with me, and we'll try to make this Let's Make a Cartoon Stream project work, because there's all kinds of different ways to do stuff and not sacrifice too much detail. I don't know, maybe I'll end up animating stuff in black and white. So thanks for hanging out with me, everybody, and catch you later.